Okay, so first off, YouTube, I apologize for everyone that's been watching all these videos, and I just kind of disappeared for a while. After the COVID lockdown stuff kind of got lifted a little bit in Maryland, Deep Creek Apparel, which is one of the businesses I own, was allowed to go back to being open, and I kind of changed the setup for that business and have been doing like outdoor retail pop-up stores, which I have to be at, Thursday through Sunday, and it's been a lot because I've been doing it on my own, and I get 3 days a week that I don't have to do stuff, which is, where my other business I have to make sure everything fits in that 3 days. So it's been a lot. There has probably been maybe 4 to 5 times that I've been over at the shop and done stuff, but I haven't filmed enough to make an entire video, so I just didn't ever post anything. What I want to do real quick to show you kind of some of the stuff I have been up to is kind of just do like a quick montage of all those things that I shot, kind of an update on where the pit bike track's at, and just kind of some of that stuff. So I'll catch you guys up, and then I'm going to show you what I've got set up over here. I just walked back into the shop. Alright, here's a full lap on the track. The start's going to be somewhere in here, so this is the start. I'll go from here. Kind of tell you. So we're going to leave this turn flat track, no berm. This section will stay as is. This will not have a berm into this double. Kind of a shoots you straight up, no berm here. This section will have a berm. Oh, here he's dragging the track. There, you can see just how bad the rocks are. This here is the start of where one berm is going to be at. Here's a little rough. Right there, you feel that. Up here's into this double. Kind of got to come at it in second. Nothing in here. These bikes are horrible between second and third. No berm here. This will stay the same. This is going to change. So this will be a speed check into a whoop section. There will be a berm here. There will also be a berm here. And that's one lap. So that's the track. That's kind of like the update of what I've been up to as far as things I have filmed, and I'll be 100% honest with you, there was like maybe a 3-week period, 2.5, 3 weeks that I never came to the shop. My stuff just sat over here, and the few things and parts that I did buy, I literally would put in my truck, drop off here in a pile, and leave. I didn't mess with anything, I didn't ride dirt bikes, I didn't do anything. But now that the business stuff is figured out, I have a set schedule, I have 3 days off a week, I've kind of got things figured out to where in those 3 days, I give myself like 1 day to just kind of do something that I want to that's not completely business related. About a month ago, I found a pair of Fast Ace front forks. It was actually the whole front end for sale on Facebook Marketplace. It was a guy like an hour and a half away from me, and it was brand new, and it was only 350 bucks, and I couldn't figure out why, because that's like the whole setup. So that's like probably a $800, $900 setup. And I messaged him, and here he won it in a raffle and didn't want it or need it for anything. So I picked that up with the idea of putting it on my CRF 110, and quickly realized that the 730 millimeter forks on a CRF 110 would work, but I would have to change my rear swing arm and do something different, which I don't want to. I want to leave this 110 sort of stock, but I do want to do something with the front forks. The stock ones are just not really cutting it for me. So after that, I decided that it was finally time for me to start seriously hunting for a KLX 110. I found a KLX 110. The guy was reasonable on price, and I ended up making him somewhat of a low offer, and we kind of met in the middle, and I went and picked this thing up. This is a 2010 KLX 110, and I mean, I paid maybe a little bit more than I would have liked to, but honestly, for the sake of my YouTube channel, I need another project bike that's a 110. I have all the 50 stuff over here, which I'll get to in a second, and you probably already know about, but the KLX 110 is like the pit bike. You can literally buy any part ever for it, and I always wanted one, so there it is. Okay, so that's the story of how I got the KLX 110, and I have the Fast Ace front end. I ordered the BBR, the brand new BBR stock comp swing arm, which just came out like maybe a month ago, and there was like 2 websites that each had one in stock, so I ordered one of those, and I'm gonna get new plastic, powder coating. I'm gonna do all the stuff to that one, and have probably another really sick looking pit bike. But now, back to the bike that I think a lot of people started watching this channel for, and that's my 2020 CRF 110. I'm gonna spin you around now and show you this bike because you guys haven't seen it since I put the graphics and the seat cover on. And I gotta be 100% honest with you, like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but this has to be one of the coolest CRF 110s I've seen. Obviously it's personal preference, and it's my number and name, so I obviously like it, but I'm just so pumped with how this thing turned out, and like, there's very few things I want to do. One issue that I have had since I built the bike, and I think I've talked about this one time, is that I have tried 3 different brands of fork seals in the front of this bike, and they still leak. I don't know why. I've never figured out the problem, but it's not, oops, sorry, there you go. It isn't anything crazy. It's not like they just blow oil everywhere, but if you ride for a couple hours, there's a decent amount of oil that comes out of them, and I've never figured out what the problem is. I've tried everything, and I even tried a set of OEM ones. It took forever to come in because they were out of stock, and the forks are still doing it. So I've checked, there's no scratches, I just can't figure out what's wrong with it. That was kind of what pushed me into trying to find inverted forks that would work on this. And that's the next story I'm gonna tell you is after I decided to keep the Fast Ace front end and just find a KLX 110 to build, I decided to start hunting and figure out kind of the most stock mod way to keep my swing arm stock on the CRF, but to go to inverted forks. There was a company called TRC, I think it's still a company, that made 660 millimeter, which is front forks that are basically the same as this bike is right now with the dampening rods added. So with that extra 1.5 inches, that's about how tall they are. They made a whole front end swap for the CRF 110, and I'm not sure if they don't make it anymore or it's just been out of stock forever. T-Bolt actually removed it off their website, so I'm not sure if it doesn't exist anymore. I found a guy on Facebook who had the forks from that kit. He didn't have the clamp or anything. He had these forks right here. They are 660 millimeter inverted forks, and after a little digging, I found T-Bolt had a set of TRC, the same company, had a set of triple clamps that are apparently for these forks. The only issue is I haven't tried it yet, but just eyeing it up, I don't think the stem is the correct height that will work on this frame. So I'm gonna have to have someone make a stem so these clamps will work with the CRF. And after we get all that done, I am most likely gonna have these powder coated the anodized red that I did the hubs and these triple clamps and everything in, just because I like how that looks. A lot of you guys probably are dying to see the update on this. This is a Fox Float MXR that I originally put on my 2020 CRF 110 and found out that it needed rebuilt. It wasn't holding air at all. It would go up to like 50 pounds and then just basically leak everything else out. So I have this completely rebuilt. A local mountain bike shop, High Mountain Sports, rebuilt this for me, and she's ready to rock now. I was gonna do it myself, started taking it apart and realized that I would probably be better for a professional or someone that had done this before to just give it the once over for me so I didn't rebuild it and find out that I messed something worse up. And so I have that, and then I also have the 3 extensions from, well, they make more than these 3, but I have a 1 inch, a 2 inch, and a 2 1/4 inch extension from Wall Brothers Racing, and I want to test those with the stock forks and the dampening rod so we can figure out once and for all which one of those sets this at the correct ride height. My guess would be 2 inches, but there's a guy online that every time I've seen people post about this, he argues that this 1 inch extension is all you need. I'm not sure how that's possible because this is 1 inch on here actually makes it the same height as a stock shock. And I know my stock shock without the extension on it was way too low in the back. So tomorrow's video, I am going to try this Fox Float out, put all these extensions on, and finally give you guys a clear answer of what the best ride height with the dampening rods and everything is. And I'll do all that before we change over to the new front end. And then I do not know if I'm gonna leave this on my CRF, if I'm gonna use it on the Sano 50, I'm not sure how you say that brand, or if I'm gonna put it on the KLX, I have no idea. It's gonna end up on some bike, but I really wanna try it out on the CRF so I can give you guys a final answer of which extension works the best with that bike. One last thing, and it's probably what I'm most excited for, is Cameron Jones. If you guys don't know who he is the owner of Cameron Jones Racing, and my camera's not gonna focus on that. He does all sorts of crazy stuff. He actually has a CRF 110 that is like completely swapped out to a Supermoto with Grom parts, and like he's just like one of those whiz kids. It's like a genius with these motors and knows basically everything about them. He sent me his whole kit, basically like the Go Fast kit for the CRF 110s. It's a flashed ECU, and the flash on this is tuned for a pipe, the intake mod that you guys have probably seen floating around, where you kind of chop the intake thing on the air box. It's going to be in the video, and then also the bigger throttle body, manifold, all that stuff. All of that stuff is going on this bike tomorrow. I've just had a really hard time linking up on the phone with Cameron to make sure I'm doing this correctly, and also because I want to make sure that if I'm making a video for you guys to watch and for him to share with the world, that I'm doing everything correctly and showing you guys the proper way to do this. 2 days ago, I bought a little thing that clips on my GoPro, and I also am going to have someone stand at a marked point on the road out here, and I'm just going to do a couple speed runs that are stopwatched and take like the average of those before I do anything, and then I'm going to put all these parts on and go do it again, and then also I'm just going to give you guys my thoughts. But everything I've read online and the people I've talked to that have already done it said that the low end power and just the bike overall just feels like it's not corked up anymore. And I will tell you, after buying this KLX 110, I was kind of, and obviously it's a carb model so the throttle response isn't the same, but that bike just with a pipe on it feels like it has a little bit more oomph than my CRF 110, which isn't surprising because the CRF 110 without anything on it, you know, that bike is basically as fast as it's going to be from the factory without a tune because of it being fuel injected. With a carb model, you put a pipe on it and jet it, which I think this one has already had done because it has a pipe on it, you get a little bit out of it, and that makes a difference. So I am super excited to get all that stuff on this 110. I'm very excited to get all this stuff done, but that's where we're at. That's what's happening right now. So we have the KLX 110, which is a whole new project. We're going to do front end, Fox Float, Cameron Jones Racing stuff on this. And then obviously I have a bunch of other stuff. The Sano, I still don't know how you say that properly. I have the whole roller, there's the forks down there, for a 50. I have an 88, like a built race head 88 motor that is going on that bike. And then I also have this 50 motor, which I'm not sure what I'm doing with yet. that's it. You are caught up completely on what's going on. I'm super excited to get started, and hopefully you guys don't hate me for disappearing. So check back in a couple days. I will hopefully have some really cool CRF 110 videos, and I can finally answer your questions about all of the tunes and the Fox float. So yeah, check you guys soon.
Hey, the beat go off? Hey, I up it, then my heat go off? Bang! I heard he do that sneaky talk. Huh?